Today, we will be reviewing the misconduct hearing of DC Kamal Baldeo. It was alleged Detective Constable Baldeo engaged in penetrative intercourse without the complainant's consent on 9th of May 2021. This case was heard from the 3rd to the 8th of January before a decision was made. To put this into context on how a decision is made, the panel must consider the following for this case. This is a serious allegation involving non-consensual sexual activity, and the misconduct hearing would have focused on the evidence presented, the credibility of the claims, and the officer's conduct in response to the accusations. The panel would have also considered the impact of such behavior on public trust and the integrity of the police force. No preliminary applications were made. The appropriate authority, AA, is represented by Mr. Hywell Jenkins' counsel. The officer is represented by Ms. Campaspe Lloyd Jacob, counsel. The officer met the complainant through an app called Hinge and spoke for approximately 2 weeks before meeting and attending a local pub near to a hotel the complainant had booked to stay in case she had drank too much. She suggested that she didn't plan on staying the night with the detective, but after drinks on their way back, they stopped at a shop which they each purchased an alcoholic can to drink while they watched a movie together. When they arrived back, the complainant had changed into her pajamas and then got into the bed and proceeded to drink and watch the movie together. They both mutually started kissing and then performed oral acts on each other, the detective. Then asked, "Would it be that bad if we had sex?" To which she replied, "It's not happening," as she stated that she did not want to sleep with the officer on their first date. Nothing further happened at that stage, and they just went to sleep. Mrs. A stated that the following morning, 9th of May 2021, she woke up before the officer. After she woke him up, they watched the remainder of the film. She said that they then again engaged in sexual contact, including oral performances, as they did the night before. Ms. A stated that the officer said, "I think we should just have sex." She stated that she was not sure of her exact reply, but it was a similar comment as before, saying, "No." She then stated that the officer got on top of her, to which she said, "What did I say? I said it's not happening." She said that the officer just said, "Can I just once?" Miss A stated that she replied by saying, "No, it doesn't work like that." However, she then stated that the officer nevertheless proceeded with his actions. Mrs. A stated that she just froze and just let it happen. However, they had not used any protection. She stated that she stopped the officer and said, "We need to use something." She stated that the officer got up from the bed to get a condom and just carried on. She stated that she just lay there. Mrs. A then said that, afterwards, the officer said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but it was fun," or words to that effect. When he had finished, Ms. A stated that she said to the officer, "I feel really santi," to which she showing that. He replied, "Don't say that. You'll make me feel like sut." She stated that he then said, "What do you expect if you're playing with me?" or words to that effect. Ms. A stated that she ignored that, did not reply. The officer's line evidence and denial of the allegation. The officer also gave live evidence and denied the allegation as set out in his Regulation 31 response. In summary, he accepted that he did have intercourse with Ms. A. He also accepted that, whilst at the bar on 8th of May 2021, Ms. A stated that she did not want to have sex on their first date. However, it is his case that when they did have intercourse on the morning of 9th May, it was consensual, and denied that the Ms. A refused intercourse before penetration. It was his case that he reasonably believed that Ms. A consented to intercourse and was a willing participant in it. The officer stated that, on the following morning, further oral activity between the two of them took place. He stated that at some point during the bedroom time, he stopped and turned onto his back. Miss A remained facing him. Neither was touching the other. The officer stated that he suggested that they might want a shower. Miss A said, "Is that it then?" He stated that he then said, "What do you mean?" They started kissing again, lying side by side. He stated that Miss A slid her left leg underneath his right leg and pulled him towards her. Together they rolled over on the bed so she was on her back and he was on top of her. He stated that he kissed her. He was aroused and believed Ms. A was also aroused. He agreed in his actions again, believing that she was consenting. In an answer to his question about protection, she said that she was not on the pill. He stated that they agreed they should use protection. He withdrew and went to the other side of the room to find his bag to use the protection he had brought. He stated that Miss A waited for him in the same position she had been in before, with her legs open. Intercourse was resumed. He stated that Miss A appeared to enjoy this, making sounds of pleasure. He stated that her arms were on the officer's back, running up and down his back, and occasionally she ran her hands through the back of his hair. He stated that Miss A did not say no at any point. Mr. Baldeo also gave a similar report when interviewed on the 9th of May 2021, following the incident and criminal proceeding, which he was found not guilty of, and the charges were acquitted. In summary, he stated that he genuinely believed, notwithstanding their conversation the evening before, that on the morning of 9 May 2021, by facilitating him lying on her, Ms. A consented to intercourse. The panel also heard live evidence from a former partner of the officer, Ms. Watt, who had a 2-year relationship with the officer, having met him through a dating app. She stated that she had no concerns regarding his conduct towards her, and that even though they were no longer in a relationship, she always found him to be respectful towards her, that she had nothing negative to say about him, and that she had always felt prioritized in their relationship. Here's a summary of the panel's findings. The panel was tasked with determining the facts related to an allegation of non-consensual sexual conduct by a police officer against a woman, Ms. A. The burden of proof was on the appropriate authority, and the civil standard of proof, balance of probabilities, applied. The panel assessed the evidence carefully, mindful of the nature of the allegations and the lack of direct witnesses. Key points of the findings. Assessment of evidence. The panel emphasized that it was crucial to avoid preconceptions about the behavior of either party, especially considering the serious nature of sexual misconduct allegations. Both the officer and Ms. A's testimonies were inconsistent at times, but the panel considered the broader context and corroborating evidence, such as messages, statements, and Ms. A's report to the police. Credibility of Ms. A. Despite some inconsistencies in Ms. A's evidence, e.g., messages suggesting she initially considered the night good, the panel found her overall testimony credible. She had clearly expressed her lack of consent to the officer before the event, and her version of events was consistent with her reports to others, including a friend and the police. The panel accepted Ms. A's explanation of her behavior during the incident, e.g., not pushing the officer off, and concluded that it didn't imply consent. Officer's testimony. The officer's explanation of booking the hotel and his communications with Miss A were considered. However, the panel was not convinced that the officer's version of events was entirely reliable. The officer's good character and a former partner's testimony were noted, but they didn't override the weight of Ms. A's credible evidence. Panel's conclusion. The panel found, on the balance of probabilities, that the officer had penetrated Miss A without her consent, in direct contradiction to her express objections. It was determined that the officer's actions breached the professional conduct standards, specifically in relation to discreditable conduct, as it undermined public trust in the police. In conclusion, the panel found the officer's conduct to be a serious violation of the police standards, confirming that the sexual act was non-consensual and that it discredited the police service. The panel decided that the officer's misconduct, specifically non-consensual sex, was a serious breach of professional standards and undermined public trust in the police. They considered the officer's actions, which were not premeditated but occurred within a context of otherwise consensual sexual contact, and acknowledged mitigating factors such as his lack of previous disciplinary issues and otherwise good character. However, the panel emphasized the gravity of the misconduct, particularly its impact on the reputation of the police service, and concluded that dismissal without notice was the only appropriate sanction. They determined that a final written warning would not suffice given the severity of the offense, and protecting public confidence in the police was paramount. Therefore, the officer was dismissed without notice.